I found the phone buried in my backyard on a Tuesday night. At first, I thought it was trash. I was outside because my dog, Max, wouldn't stop barking at the fence. He had been doing it for almost 20 minutes, and every time I called him, he would look back at me like he wanted me to follow him. So I grabbed a flashlight and walked outside. Max was standing next to the old wooden fence behind my house, staring at the ground. I walked over and saw something sticking out of the dirt. It looked like the corner of a black phone. I thought someone had thrown it over the fence. I picked it up. The screen was cracked, the case was covered in mud, and somehow it still had 41% battery. That was the first weird thing. The second weird thing was that the phone had no passcode. I unlocked it. There were only 3 apps on the home screen: camera, notes, and a video folder. I opened the videos. There were 27 videos. The first one was about 6 months old. It was a video of my house, not a similar house, my house. I could see my driveway, my front door, and my car. I immediately thought someone had been watching me. I started scrolling through the videos. The next one was my backyard, then my kitchen, then my bedroom. My stomach dropped. I closed the folder. I was about to throw the phone back into the dirt when Max suddenly growled, not barked, growled. I looked toward the fence. Nothing was there. I looked back at the phone. Then I noticed something. The videos weren't random. They were labeled with dates. I opened the newest one. The date on the video was tomorrow. I laughed. I actually laughed because I thought someone was messing with me. The video showed my kitchen. It was dark. The camera was sitting on the counter. I could see the clock on the microwave. 11:47 p.m. Then I saw myself walk into the kitchen. I was wearing the exact clothes I was wearing right then: gray hoodie, black sweatpants, same shoes. I watched myself walk toward the refrigerator. Then the video stopped. I checked the time. It was 10:18 p.m. I stared at the phone. I told myself it was fake. Someone could have made the video earlier. Maybe the date was wrong. Maybe it was some stupid prank. So I decided to test it. I walked inside. I put the phone on my kitchen counter. Then I went upstairs. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post about it. I didn't even text my friends. At 11:40 p.m. I was sitting on my bed watching YouTube. At 11:46 I remembered the video. I went downstairs. I stood at the bottom of the stairs. 11:47, exactly like the video. I walked into the kitchen. I was wearing the same clothes. I stopped. My heart started pounding because I realized what was supposed to happen next. I was supposed to open the refrigerator. I slowly walked toward it. Then I heard a noise outside, a loud metallic bang. I froze. Max started barking downstairs. I turned away from the refrigerator. I walked toward the back door. And that's when I saw someone standing outside. A man. He was standing at the edge of my backyard, just staring at the house. I couldn't see his face. I grabbed a baseball bat. The man turned around and ran. I opened the door and shouted, "Hey!" He disappeared behind the fence. I called the police. They searched the backyard but couldn't find anyone. The officer asked me if I knew the man. I said no. He asked if anything had been stolen. I said no. Then he asked why I had been outside in the first place. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't exactly tell him that I had found a magic phone predicting the future, so I just told him I heard a noise. After the police left, I went back upstairs. I barely slept. The next morning, I checked the phone again. There was a new video. It was labeled today, 3:15 p.m. I opened it. It showed me sitting at my desk at work. I watched myself answer an email. Then I stood up. I walked to the break room, and there was a man standing inside. The same man from my backyard. This time I could see his face. I paused the video. I stared at him. I didn't recognize him. Then I noticed something behind him, a reflection in the microwave. The person recording the video was standing directly behind me, but I couldn't see their face. The video continued. The man in the break room said something to me. I couldn't hear it. Then I watched myself hand him something. I paused the video again. It was my car keys. I immediately checked my pocket. My keys were there. I started getting nervous. I called my boss and told him I wasn't feeling well. I stayed home. At 3:15 p.m. I was sitting on my couch. Nothing happened. 3:16, nothing. 3:17, still nothing. I started laughing. Maybe the phone was wrong. Maybe it had just been some elaborate coincidence. Then someone knocked on my front door. I looked through the window. It was my boss. He was standing there holding a folder. I didn't answer. He knocked again. Then he called me. I picked up. He said, "You need to come outside." I asked why. He said, "Because someone broke into the office." My stomach dropped. I asked him what had been stolen. He said, "Nothing." Then he paused. "Someone just left a phone on your desk." I looked down at the phone in my hand. The screen had turned on. There was one new video. I opened it. The video showed my boss standing outside my house, exactly where he was standing right now. I dropped the phone. I didn't answer the door. My boss kept knocking. Then I heard him say something through the door. Please. I looked through the window again. He wasn't holding a folder anymore. He was holding a gun. I backed away. I called 911, but before I could say anything, the phone rang. The phone I found in my backyard. It was calling me. I stared at the screen. I didn't answer. It rang again, then again. Finally, I picked up. I didn't say anything. For a few seconds, there was silence. Then I heard my own voice. Trust him. I froze. It was my voice. Exactly my voice. Then it said, he's not the one you need to worry about. Call ended. I looked toward the front door. My boss was gone. I waited for the police. They arrived about 10 minutes later. They searched the neighborhood. My boss was nowhere to be found. The officer asked me if I had any idea what was happening. I showed him the phone. He looked at it. Then his expression changed. He asked me where I found it. I told him. He stared at me for a long time. Then he said something I'll never forget. We found this phone 3 weeks ago. I thought I heard him wrong. What? He said they had received a report about a phone found in a park. The phone had been connected to a missing persons case. A man had disappeared 3 weeks earlier. The police had searched his house. They found dozens of videos of people who had disappeared, people who were about to disappear. And my house was the last location on the list. I asked him who the missing man was. He pulled out his notebook. Then he showed me a photograph. It was the man from my backyard, the man from the video, the man from the break room. I stared at the picture, then I noticed something. The photograph wasn't old. It had been taken yesterday. I asked the officer how that was possible. He didn't answer. Instead, he asked me something. The phone ever show you a video of yourself dying? I felt my entire body go cold. I shook my head. No. He looked relieved. Then the phone buzzed. We both looked down. A new video had appeared. The officer told me not to open it. I opened it anyway. The video showed my backyard. It was nighttime. The camera was buried in the dirt. I could see myself walking toward it, but this time I wasn't alone. The missing man was standing behind me. Then the camera angle changed. It was now inside my house. It showed my bedroom, then my kitchen, then my living room, then the front door. The door opened. Someone walked inside. I couldn't see their face. The video ended. I looked at the clock. 11:46 p.m. The officer looked at me. Why does that time matter? I didn't answer. Because I knew exactly what happened at 11:47, the same time as the first video. The phone buzzed again. Another video. I opened it. This one was only 5 seconds long. It showed me standing in my kitchen. But I wasn't watching the video. I was watching the phone, and then I realized something. The video wasn't showing tomorrow. It was showing me watching the video. The camera was behind me. Someone was standing in my kitchen. I slowly looked up. The officer was staring at me. He whispered, "Don't turn around." I turned around. Nobody was there. Then I heard footsteps upstairs. The officer pulled his weapon. We both looked toward the staircase. One step, then another, then another. Someone was coming downstairs. I grabbed the baseball bat. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then my phone rang. This time the caller ID said, "MY number." I answered. My own voice whispered, "You already let me in." I looked at the front door. It was still locked. Then I looked at the officer. His face had gone completely pale. He pointed behind me. I turned. There was a man standing in the hallway, the missing man, except now I could see his face clearly. And he was smiling. He raised his hand. He was holding another phone. He looked at me and said, "You're going to bury this one tomorrow." Then everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying in my backyard. The police officer was gone. The man was gone. The phone was gone. And next to me was a shovel. I had no idea how long I had been unconscious. I stood up. Then I noticed something sticking out of the dirt. Another phone. I picked it up. The screen turned on. There was one video. The date was tomorrow. I pressed play. The camera showed me standing in my backyard, holding a shovel, and standing next to me was the person recording. I couldn't see their face, but I could hear them breathing. Then the camera slowly turned toward me, and I heard my own voice say, "Finally." Video ended. And that's when I realized something that still keeps me awake at night. The phone wasn't predicting the future. It was recording it, and somehow I was the one making the videos.